The applause hadn't even faded when my sister destroyed my career. "You're terminated. Security will handle it." She didn't shout. She didn't need to. The microphone carried her voice across the chandelier-lit ballroom like a blade. I was still holding my champagne glass. I hadn't even taken a sip. 200 guests, investors, board members, family friends, turned in perfect synchronization. Conversations died mid-sentence. Forks hovered over plates. The air thickened. No one defended me. Not my father. Not my mother. Not even my brother. I didn't beg. I didn't react. I removed my guest badge, placed it carefully beside the untouched drink, and walked toward the exit while security trailed a few steps behind, just close enough to make the message clear. They thought that was the humiliation. It wasn't. That was only the opening move. And they had no idea what I'd already set in motion. I was 19 the first time I realized how power truly worked in my family. It wasn't loud. It wasn't obvious. It simply shifted, always toward Vanessa. Back then, the company was nothing more than a freezing warehouse in North Kansas City. Concrete floors, metal shelving, lights that buzzed like they were about to give up. Dad stood at a plastic folding table stacked with invoices and shipping labels. He slid a contract toward me. "Sign it," he said without looking up. "It's a good salary." Vanessa stood behind him, swinging a brand new set of office keys around her finger like a trophy. She was 21, camera ready, always positioned front and center for investor photos. The future face of the company. I studied the contract. The number looked impressive for someone my age, but numbers weren't what interested me. Ownership was. "I don't want a salary," I said calmly. "I want equity." Dad finally glanced up, not annoyed, just distracted. A football game blared from the small TV mounted in the corner. His team was near the end zone. "Cheryl," he sighed, "take the stable option. Stability builds comfort. Ownership builds control." I slid my own document across the table, a thin, unimpressive half-page agreement I drafted myself. Compared to the glossy contract he prepared, mine looked almost laughable. He barely skimmed it. The crowd on the TV roared as his team nearly scored. Without fully reading a word, he signed. His signature shook slightly from the noise of the game. Vanessa leaned closer to him, her voice soft, but not soft enough that I couldn't hear. And that was the moment everything changed. You always complicate everything. Vanessa didn't even try to whisper it. I didn't respond. I folded the document, slid it into my leather folder, and for the first time, I felt it, the outline of a separate path forming beneath my feet, quiet, invisible, mine. A year later, the warehouse wasn't struggling anymore. It was loud, packed, profitable. Forklifts beeped. Orders doubled. Investors started visiting in pressed suits. When Dad distributed bonuses that winter, Vanessa's envelope hit the table with a satisfying weight. Thick, noticeable. Mine? A single page. Equity, I reminded him calmly. He didn't hesitate. Didn't calculate. Didn't question. Another small percentage slid in my direction with a careless signature. Aiden had joined by then. Fresh title. No experience. Unlimited confidence. When he misplaced an entire week's inventory logs, Dad didn't lecture him. He looked at me. Fix it. When Vanessa skipped a major client call, Mom defended her immediately. She's overwhelmed. You know how much pressure she's under. I understood something very early. When I made a mistake, it became my identity. When they made one, it became my responsibility. The real shift happened in 2013. Our old living room. Beige walls. Outdated carpet. The kind of place that still smelled faintly like childhood. Vanessa was preparing to sign a partnership deal, one that looked impressive on paper but was financially toxic underneath. I had reviewed every projection. The numbers didn't balance. Not long term. Board members were dialed in through video call, smiling politely on screen. Vanessa's pen hovered. Dad muted the call without taking his eyes off the football game. "Is this solid?" he asked casually. Not to her. To me. Instead of arguing, I opened the folder and slipped a single page inside. A clause I had drafted quietly over 3 weeks. Protection language. Escape triggers. Voting leverage. The foundation of what would later become Section 14C. "Sign this as well," I said evenly. He didn't read it. He never did. The crowd on TV erupted. Touchdown. His pen moved during the replay. Signature secured. Vanessa's jaw tightened when she saw the extra page. "Why do you always insert yourself?" She muttered. Always. That word stayed with me. As if I was an inconvenience. Not the one reinforcing the beams before the roof collapsed. Years passed. Mom complimented Vanessa for strategies I had outlined. Aiden accepted congratulations for negotiations I had personally closed. At family gatherings, distant relatives would ask, "So, are you still helping out at the company?" Helping. As if I was an intern who wandered in occasionally. It wasn't anger that stayed with me. It was recognition. A pattern so consistent it became mathematical. Credit flowed upward. Blame flowed toward me. And one day, without realizing it, I stopped expecting fairness. That was the moment I understood my role in this family. Invisible architect. Visible scapegoat. 3 hours before the gala, I arrived early. Early enough to move through the ballroom unnoticed. Staff were adjusting place cards, polishing silverware, testing spotlights that would eventually frame my sister as the new CEO. I checked the guest registry once. Then again, my name wasn't there. Not as board member. Not as shareholder. Not even as family. On the giant LED screens looping the evening program, Vanessa's face appeared over and over, introducing our visionary leader, our new CEO. Her smile looked flawless and high resolution. But what no one in that ballroom knew was that the most powerful signature in the company wasn't hers. And tonight, they were about to find out. Vanessa's smile glowed beneath the warm golden filter on the screens. Beside her stood Aiden, captioned in bold white letters, VP of Sales, Founding Family Representative. Their titles were crisp, centered, polished. There was no mention of me. Not co-founder. Not equity partner. Not even a footnote. I had been edited out so cleanly it almost impressed me. A tech coordinator approached holding a clipboard. "Are you with catering?" He asked it politely, distracted, harmless, but the question landed with surgical precision, exactly where years of quiet erasure had trained it to land. Efficient, invisible, replaceable. I stepped past him toward the seating chart mounted near the bar. Table 1, Vanessa and Aiden. Table 3, my parents. Table 12, unfamiliar names. Next to mine, Cheryl Lawson, guest. Guest, not executive. Not shareholder. Not family. Just a visitor in a company I helped build. Someone behind me chuckled softly. Aiden adjusted his cufflinks, confidence radiating like expensive cologne. "You can sit wherever," he said without looking directly at me. "Tonight's not really about you." It was delivered casually, carelessly, designed to sting without requiring effort. And it did, but not the way he expected. Because in that exact second, everything aligned. The childhood sidelines, the teenage exclusions, the adult dismissals, the contracts they signed blindly, the credit they absorbed, the clauses they ignored. It wasn't one moment. It was a pattern. And tonight wasn't the beginning of my erasure. It was just the public version of something that had already been happening for years. I looked down at my badge. Cheryl Lawson, guest. The laminate felt cool between my fingers. I slid the lanyard back over my head and let it settle against my collarbone, exactly where they believed I belonged. Aiden waited for a reaction, an argument, a flinch, a protest. I gave him none, just a slow breath and a smile. When the ballroom doors closed behind me, the noise dulled instantly, like glass lowering between me and their celebration. Outside, Kansas City air carried the metallic scent of approaching rain. Cool, precise. I didn't look back. The applause faded. The chandeliers dissolved. The image of my sister lifting her champagne flute became irrelevant. My heels struck pavement in steady rhythm, unbroken. The black Tahoe waited beneath the portico lights. The engine turned over with a low hum, steadier than my pulse. I sat there for a moment, hands resting on the steering wheel. Not angry, not hurt, clear, 3 hours. That was all I required. The highway stretched ahead in long reflective streaks, wet asphalt catching streetlights like fractured glass. The radio stayed off. The only sound was the measured click of the turn signal. Decision, signal, shift. When I pulled into the garage, the motion light flickered on, illuminating the workbench and the laptop I had left charging since dawn. I didn't go inside. I didn't change. I didn't hesitate. I placed the laptop on the hood and opened it with the same calm precision I had used when setting down my badge. The screen woke instantly. Facial recognition unlocked everything. Folders arranged exactly where they had always been. Prepared long before tonight. Not because I expected revenge. Because I expected negligence. I opened the folder labeled Continuity. 16 years of documentation. Ownership transfers. Silent equity increases. Board amendments. Archived emails. Meeting transcripts. Signed clauses no one remembered agreeing to. Every signature they scribbled during commercial breaks. Every page they never read. It wasn't a revenge file. It was infrastructure. A safeguard system built quietly while they chased cameras. While they polished titles. While they replaced me with captions. I initiated the sequence. Attach, encrypt, schedule, send. The first email blast went to every board member, including Ms. Cole and Mr. Rivera, the only two who always noticed when numbers drifted. Subject line, immediate governance review, effective tonight. Then I prepared the second wave. And this one wouldn't wait for applause to finish. Whitman, the chairman who could read a 40-page contract faster than most people skimmed headlines, received the file next. Then Mr. Grant, the attorney who never underestimated a quiet clause. No one dramatic. No one emotional. Just the right people. I opened the courier dashboard. The sealed filing stamped that morning waited in queue. 1 click. Pickup window, 14 minutes. A blue circle began tightening on the screen. Precise, inevitable. I refreshed the internal voting portal, the one I had built years ago while debugging the company's disaster recovery system. Minimal design. No color tricks. No manipulation. At the top of the screen sat my ownership percentage. Exactly where it had always been. Silent, intact, untouched. The second hour passed without ceremony. No pacing, no panic. Just verification. Timestamps confirmed. Signatures authenticated. Bylaws cross-referenced. And there it was. Section 14C, buried deep, quiet, patient, activated under one specific condition. If a non-equity executive terminates a majority shareholder without unanimous board approval, operational control reverts immediately. She had handed me the trigger, on stage, in front of 200 witnesses. I didn't smile. This wasn't victory. It was correction. I leaned back in the driver's seat, the garage light stretching across the hood of the Tahoe. The silence felt different now. Not empty, balanced. My phone buzzed. Aiden, Vanessa, Mom, blocked. Every number had been redirected at sunrise. No interference. No emotion bleeding into structure. 16 years. Every overlooked clause. Every careless signature during commercial breaks. Every decision that assumed I would quietly repair the damage. Tonight, I wouldn't. When the final document sensed across the system, I lowered the laptop halfway, paused, then closed it completely. The sound echoed softly across concrete. Not angry. Final. The countdown continued without me watching it. 3 hours later, the gala still shimmered. Music drifted lightly over dessert plates and polished laughter. No one sensed the shift beneath the foundation. When I stepped back through the main doors, security was already repositioning, subtle, professional. The western exit locked first. Then the service corridor. No raised voices. Just protocol. At table 1, Vanessa's laughter froze mid-gesture. Aiden checked his phone. Then another phone lit up. Then another. Chairman Whitman rose slowly from his seat near the stage. His expression didn't change, but his eyes sharpened, understanding assembling in real time. He adjusted his cuff and gave a small nod. The remaining doors closed. No one left. The murmurs began, light at first, like rain tapping against glass. A woman at table 6 whispered, "Is this real?" Someone else, "Why now?" The lights dimmed by 1 controlled degree. Not dramatic, programmed, the projector activated. The 60-foot screen behind the stage flickered to life. A single title appeared in clean white lettering against black, Emergency Governance. Review, Section 14C activated. The ballroom fell silent. Vanessa turned slowly toward the screen. Aiden's confidence evaporated first. Chairman Whitman stepped to the microphone. His voice carried calmly. Effective immediately, operational control of Lawson Holdings reverts to the majority equity holder. A pause, measured. Then Miss Cheryl Lawson. 200 heads turned again. But this time, not as spectators. As witnesses. Vanessa's lips parted, but no sound formed. Because this time, she hadn't read the contract. And I had the screen shifted. Emergency shareholder meeting, Section 14C activated. Vanessa's breath caught audible this time. Guests closest to her turned. She searched the room for contradiction, for rescue, for someone to say this was a glitch. Dad, Mom, Aiden. But every face was lit by phone screens. Filing stamped that morning, verified, time-stamped, real. I walked down the center aisle. No security. No announcement. Just the sound of carpet softening each step. Silence opened around me. At the podium, I placed my laptop down and lifted the screen. The voting interface expanded behind me, clean white against dim gold lighting. "Good evening," I said calmly. The microphone carried it without distortion. Under Section 14C, control reverts to the majority shareholder. A motion has been filed. Chairman Whitman stepped beside me, composed as ever. Motion to rescind the appointments of Vanessa Lawson as CEO and Aiden Lawson as VP of Sales. Do I have a second? Yes, second. Second. Ms. Cole, Mr. Rivera, others followed. Not emotional. Certain. The vote opened. Green for yes. Red for no. 58%. 61%. 65%. 67%. The room leaned forward collectively. Every silent click echoed louder than applause ever had. At 69%, Vanessa stepped forward. Stop this. You can't vote tonight. This is my ceremony. Whitman didn't turn. This is a legal proceeding, Ms. Lawson. Please step back. Aiden tried a different tone. Cheryl, this is family. From near table 4, Mr. Grant spoke without rising. This is binding. 71%. The bar turned solid green. A hush moved outward like a tide pulling back from shore. A spoon hit porcelain. The string quartet froze mid-note. Motion carries. Effective immediately. Vanessa stared at the screen as if willing it to rearrange itself. This is a mistake. You blindsided us. I advanced to the next slide. The pre-signed transition addendum filled the display. No commentary. No drama. Just executed authority. Aiden's phone slipped from his hand. Dad looked at the screen, the way someone looks at a mirror they've avoided for years. Mom's fingers trembled near her necklace. For the first time, he wasn't reading a contract. He was reading consequences. The projector hummed, steady, unmoved. The reversal was complete. 4 months later, the building felt different. Not louder. Not stricter. Aligned. Morning light stretched across the lobby in a clean line. Balanced, deliberate. My office now stood where the old storage closet used to be. The brushed steel nameplate read, Cheryl Lawson, Chief Executive Officer, no embellishment. No spotlight. Just fact. Inside, the company breathed evenly. No chaos disguised as charisma. No meetings performed like theater. Just structure doing what it was designed to do. From my window, the city moved without noticing anything had changed. And for the first time in years, neither did I. Vanessa listed her lake house within weeks. The photos circulated online. Perfectly staged. Artificially warm. Aiden discovered non-competes are less forgiving than confidence. My parents relocated to Florida, quieter life, fewer questions. They all reached out eventually. Apologies, explanations, rewritten memories. I let them pass through the filter I built long ago. None required response. Some endings don't need slammed doors. Some don't need speeches. Sometimes the ending is simply this, a quiet room, steady walls, and control that no one can take back. Some people think power belongs to whoever stands at the microphone. They're wrong. Power lives in the documents no one reads, in the clauses ignored, in the signatures rushed through during halftime. My family learned that the hard way, and I learned something simpler. Silence isn't weakness. It's direction.